melt this when I'm ocean wave.
Today on Nova Legends podcast, I have sharpshooting Steve Miles, one of the greatest clutch shooters in the history of Northern Virginia basketball. He's going to preview the Jackson Reed, where he coached Hayfield game this weekend. And also we're going to talk about Steve's basketball story. I know he's got a lot of strong opinions, and I'm looking forward to hearing them. Steve, thanks for joining me.
Man, thank you for having me, man.
Oh, of course. So, Steve, just to give the broad sketches of your career, you were 98 Hayfield alum. Is that correct?
Yes, graduated 98.
Yeah, he helped lead him and his boy Carlos Jones and Cornell Felton, Clayton Lee. You took him to the state tournament your junior year.
Junior, yep.
Yep, met up against a nice Potomac team with Mookie Felder, my man Sherman Rivers.
Yeah.
Then you went to Coastal Carolina,
Yep.
and you played for Pete Strickland, who I know was an assistant
Yep,
for Oliver Purnell. Is that right, Pete?
Yep. Yes, sir.
And then transferred to American University and played for a guy that I once played for, Jeff Jones,
Yes.
at American. At American, you guys finished first and second in the league, so you had two really nice years there. I know you've been in coaching. I know you and your boys have a podcast called Thickest Threes. That's a real good time. You guys, lots of strong opinions on that show. Did I miss any of the broad sketches there, Steve?
No, that's pretty much it. Like like I said, 98 graduate at Hayfield. Had a great career. 3 strong varsity years. Even my sophomore year with Ernest Holmes, he was the other big 3 partner that year. And then Carlos came my junior year. 2 district championships, a regional championship, the first one they had since '86. Then, like I said, junior year went down to the States and played an amazing, man, that was an awesome year. Finals, we would play Ronald Curry if we would have made it. That Potomac team was really tough. Even had a young Cliff Hawkins on that team.
That's right.
So, it was stacked, so it was a different time, a whole lot of good basketball.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get to all that stuff, but first I want to talk about Jackson Reed a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know much about it's Coach T, right?
David T. Johnson.
David T. Johnson. Tell us a little bit about Jackson Reed and the coach and about the team.
They are a strong team. They're led by Rob Dockery and Marvin Bridges. So those are the 2 main guys. They're going to be seniors. But they have a lot of younger guys that they're scrappy. They play hard. They know how to play. They love the game. And they just, they're gamers. Like all those kids have played in big games. I was there for 4 years, and that's all we played. We played in big games, big atmospheres. They played against nationally ranked teams. So there's no fear factor there. They come ready to play. Some of the younger guys, point guard Joe McCray, he's a phenomenal defensive player. He's a guy like you. If you can't dribble, don't be around him. He's gonna take it from you. They have another strong point guard in Greg Lomax, who comes in and he kind of runs the show. Another junior shooter and Lucas Siaki. I can't say his last. I never can say his last name. But number 3, Lucas, whatever.
Siaka?
Polish, but he's a Polish-born kid, but great footwork. He shoots the ball, and then he got 2 young front court players. So it's going to be a great matchup.
Yeah. How is formerly Wilson been able Jackson Reed? How have they been able to keep these great players from private schools? Because in years past, there's so many private schools within blocks of Wilson. I mean, Sidwell, for instance, close by. I mean, there's so many of them. You can name probably like 5 within a 3-mile radius. How have they been able to keep all these great players from going to private schools?
I think a lot of it is relationships. Before Angelo Hernandez, he had a great relationship with kids. David T. Johnson, he's a great not recruiter, but he's a great guy that gets kids to come and stay. He coaches with Team Durant, so he has a great relationship with kids. And also, Jackson Reed has a great, the scheduling. They play the best of the best every year. So you're getting basically a private school schedule every year. You're able to showcase your ability on a high level at a public school. So they're able to get kids in there, and they're basically offering the same thing. So when kids move there to be able to go there, they're playing the same kind of schedule. So they're getting the same exposure, the same big time atmosphere. So that's what kids want.
Yeah. So what's the Interhigh like now? When I was coming up, we couldn't even dream about beating the Interhigh teams. It was almost like we were playing TC Williams every night to play against the Interhigh teams. They were all so strong. And but obviously the Interhigh is not what it used to be.
Right.
And most of the top players do go to private schools in the city. So what is it like the Interhigh these days?
It's to me it's your normal public school schedule right now. A lot of each team probably have one or two guys that can play. But just like you said, a lot of kids are going to private schools, so that kind of hinders the DCI. It hinders the DCIAA schools. Like I said, Jackson Reed and Coolidge and H.D. Woodson for a time. Theodore Roosevelt every year has a strong team. Those are the four major teams that usually keep their kids there. They come in and those are the four major teams. Everyone else, they get poached.
Yeah. Well, Jackson Reed it's a beautiful school. It's also great academically, always has been. Do you think that helps Coach T recruit players? The fact that it's a nice school and it's also great academically.
It does. I think that's probably the number one school that's the number one school all the kids want to get into. I forgot what it's called, where they get to pick and choose the school they want to go to, but all the kids want to go there. Every year they have a high request rate for kids that want to come there. And then, once they get there, and just like you said, it's a beautiful school, upper Northwest, great academics, great environment. Everybody there is supportive of everything that they do there. And that goes for all sports. It's not just basketball. Baseball is one. I think they've won the DCIAA for the last 25 years or something crazy like that. And
really?
volleyball's been yeah. I think it's something crazy like that. They've won like DCIAA like 25 years in a row. So but I mean, like I said, the whole school supportive of everything that they do. And and that's one thing that I've learned since being there, is that you need that support. You need that support from the principal to the AD, all the way down to the teachers. So and they definitely have that. So I think when kids come there, they know that they're taken care of, and then they know that they're going to play a big time schedule.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Hayfield a little bit. First of all, have you been surprised by their success? I mean, Hayfield's always been good. We've got a great demographic for basketball, and it's very diverse. Socioeconomic, it's very diverse. It's always been that way. But this last few years has been very special. Has a success surprised you?
I mean, just that they haven't lost. I mean, I think that's the only surprise. But just being around the kids, and the couple of times that I've came and seen them play, and just come to practice a couple of times, like those kids. The main thing is those kids love each other, from the number one player to the last guy. They all love each other. They all play for each other. They're like the epitome of like a player-led team. You know what I mean? So the players, if the players want it as much as the coaches, then you're going to see success. Like I said, the only thing I'm surprised at that they've gone 38-0 or whatever it is right now, but it comes from those kids wanting it every day, and it's a throwback to back when I played. Like, that's what we did. We played every day. We played every day to win. We competed. We loved each other, and if your team, if it's a player-led team, then you're going to have success.
Yeah. Well, what makes Carlos Poindexter so successful? He's a great guy. I don't think I've heard anything bad about him. And I mean, you've got kids from private schools transferring to Hayfield now. People want to play for him. Why is he so successful?
I think a lot of it is just what I said. He allows the kids to be themselves. He allows them to play. He doesn't try to restrict them. He allows them to do what it is that they do. He gives them freedom to go out, and if it's a play to be made, he allows them to play it. He's definitely a player's coach, and just like you said, he's a great dude. Never heard anything bad about him. No one ever speaks ill will of him, from old players to players now to any coach that you ever meet. He's just a great guy. So kids want to be around that, and I think now with the success they've had, that breeds kids wanting to come there. Same thing when I was at Jackson Reed. We had tremendous success, so guys want to enroll, guys want to come in. So I think Carlos is starting to reap those benefits. I think a lot more kids are going to want to come there, and make the move to come there.
Are Coach T and Coach Poindexter, are they similar in terms of how they coach?
Very similar. Yeah, yeah. You know, I think T's a little bit more. He's a little bit more get in your face with those kids because he has a more of a personal relationship with them as far as out off the court. But yeah, they're pretty much similar. You know, they allow their guys to do what they do. He allows their talent to be showcased. He doesn't hinder them, and and I think the kids feed off that. The kids listen to that, and the kids, they're able. It's kind of like they are definitely coaches that have a give and take.
Yeah. Well, so do you are you familiar with this year's Hayfield team? If you got a chance to see them this season?
I haven't gotten a chance to see them yet. I was gonna try to go see them this Saturday, but we have a game as well because I'm also the associate coach over at National Christian. So
Okay.
I was gonna try to go over there and see them play. But when you got Greg and David, those are two, and also DJ, those are three guys who just breathe success. You have a big three coming back, then they've added the point guard Jaleel from Potomac School, who's a solid kid, and they also, added the kid from West Potomac. So I mean, like as long as you got Greg and David, I mean, you're gonna be pretty good.
Yeah. How seriously is Jackson Reed taking this game? Would you think? You might not have talked to him this week, but obviously Hayfield, they're undefeated. They want to stay undefeated. This is a big game for them. How seriously do you think Jackson Reed is taking this game?
Extremely serious. And that's the thing that breeds teams that are traditionally good and they have longevity. They don't take no games for granted. You know what I mean? No matter who they are. Like I think last night they beat Dunbar 54-19. So you know what I mean? So like when they step on the court, they're ready to go. And Jackson Reed's definitely guys that they love to play basketball.
Yeah.
So if there's a game, like they love it over practice. I know that.
Yeah. So what are the keys to Hayfield winning this game? Or what are the keys to the game in your eye?
For me, I think the biggest key is David. I think David's the X factor. Rob and Greg, I think to me they cancel each other out a little bit. Two Division I players going against each other. I think the kid from West Potomac and Marvin, they kind of cancel each other out. But I think David being able to get position, being able to defend, rebound, he does a lot of the dirty work. He does a lot of things that nobody really wants to do. He takes charges. He's always in the right position. He's definitely key to the game. If he has a big game, it can swing Hayfield's way that way. To me, I think it all depends on David. And then also for Hayfield, I think they've got, like I said, they've got to protect the ball.
Yeah. Well, they're rated 5 and 6 in the Washington Post. Do you think that's fair? You think that's where they belong? Think they could be a little bit higher, or where do you see these two public school teams?
Man, I think 5 and 6 are good. I mean, I think that's about right. You got Gonzaga, who's nationally ranked. PVI is nationally ranked. I know the other teams that are ahead of them, but 5 or 6 are about right for public school. You know what I mean? Public school teams. They're beating the teams that they're getting great wins. So I know Jackson Reed had a tough loss to Bullets the other night by 1. But they've beaten Whitney Young out of Chicago, who's every year is a great team. Hayfield has some great wins, so I think that's about right.
Yeah. Are you enjoying yourself at National? I'm sorry, you're at National Christian. Are you enjoying yourself?
Yeah, National Christian.
Yeah,
I am. It's a rebuild. It's kind of like how me and Coach Hernandez, we've been coaching together for like 13 years now. So we've been starting from the ground up and building up something. So. Even though I wasn't with him when he started at Wilson, a lot of those kids we had in AAU that we had when they were like 6th grade that helped build his foundation over there. So it's kind of the same thing. It's a lot of teaching, which is good. A lot of learning. It's kind of like going back to the basics. It's kind of like when I first started coaching. Teaching kids the fundamentals. When I started back with Coach Metris and Don McCool and all those guys. So it's for me, it's fun.
So you played for some of the greatest coaches in Northern Virginia history. You played at college. You played for Pete Strickland, who's great reputation, and of course Jeff Jones knows the game really well. When you coach under with Hernandez and Coach T, do you continue to learn about the game? A guy who has been around the game as long as you have, and you are a thinking man's player. You played the game with your head, definitely. Do you continue to learn about the game, or is to you the game? It just comes kind of natural.
I mean, you always learn something new. I mean, especially now, kids now. I'm kind of like the old guy, so like kids now. Yeah, so kids now. I mean, you're learning. I think now it's more of a relationship building thing, and allowing kids to be them, not try to totally control them. Like when I played, I think a lot of times we were kind of robotish, where I think now the key is to allow kids to have freedom, have kids to let their talent shine. And that's one of the main things that I've learned since I've been with Hernandez and Coach T over at Wilson, is like, you can't put the pieces everywhere all the time. Like, it's not going to play out like that. You got to let them go out there, make mistakes, or make the big play. And a lot of times I've been fortunate that we've made the big play.
I was talking to Coach Pope from Northside. He played at Mount Vernon class of 76. Great guy. And he's won 600 games down in Roanoke. And I asked him some of the things that have changed about the game. One thing that he said is, on defense, they used to run traps, and he would tell the kids when to trap. He says nowadays the kids have the freedom to trap when it's best. You try to get the kids to know when they should trap and let them make those kind of decisions on the court themselves. Are those the kind of things that you're seeing now, that the players are making more decisions on the court than back when you played?
Yeah. I think a lot of times kids are letting their instincts go. They're kind of going off scripted, and going off script. They're kind of doing things that they see it or feel it. And then, like, I think now that's another major thing too, is like we take a lot more feedback from our kids. You know what I'm saying? It's not always just what the coach sees. It's always, we ask them, what is it? How do you see what's going on out there? You know what I mean? And for the most part, they have a great, mind for what they see and how they can be effective.
Yeah. Well, see, the other day we were talking online on our Facebook group about how the athletes have changed over the years, and you've been in the game ever since, for a very long time, at least since the early 90s. You've been heavily in the game. How have the athletes changed? You seem to imply that, back when you played, they were tougher. I definitely think times have changed. I know when I go to games now, when we played, there was so much trash talking, especially when you played, because you played during the Pistons time and the Duke Carolina battles. The game was had a lot different edge to it than it does now. But how do you see the game and the athletes now as compared to 25, 30 years ago?
I think now with social media and things like that, I think kids are more friendly with each other. So it's kind of like they want everybody to be good. You know what I mean? So they want everybody to go Division I. They want everybody to win games. They want everybody to be the star. Nobody wants to just be the guy. Nobody wants to be the alpha guy. Like when I played, like me and Cornell best friends, and we'd have arguments and almost come to blows, but 15 minutes later, I'm at his house eating spaghetti. You know what I mean? So I think that's the edge now kids have lost. I don't think they know how to differentiate being competitive on the court and making each other better and still having a friendship afterwards. I think now it's either you're on my team, you're my friend, you let me, you support me at all costs, or it's nothing. And I think that's where I think the competitive edge has definitely been lost. I don't think guys like to compete anymore. I don't think guys like to play every day. I don't think guys like to play pickup. I think it's kind of like, if it's, if I have nothing else to do, I'll go to the gym and play, and then like once it gets too hard, you'll see guys back down. That's the one thing I don't like. Like if they can't do something and they kind of like jog up the court, or it's just different. I think the lack of competitiveness is the main thing.
Yeah. Well, when you play, you guys had a bitter rivalry with West Potomac, and they had some great athletes: Willie Pyle, Carlton Phelps, Tyree,
Corn Turner.
Yeah, so many.
Yeah.
What was that relationship? We'll get to your high school career more in depth, but what was that relationship like compared to the way teams battle today? So what you're saying is you and Willie Powell will go to war on the court. Would you guys be friends after the game, or how did it work back then as compared to now?
Back then, I just became really good friends with Willie Powell when we graduated high school. So you know what I mean? So like that's how much we took rivalries. Like when we went and played at West Potomac, like it was standing room only. It was us versus you. We weren't gonna back down. You weren't gonna back down. We couldn't stand each other. And then the funny thing is, like when we like right now, Tyree Harris is one of my good friends. So this, we used to battle daily. You know what I mean? Battle in those games. We didn't want each other to win. We did everything possible. So as I said, I think now guys don't play like that. It's kind of like everything is a friendship. Everything is like I let you do what you want to do, and you kind of let me do what I want to do, and then we'll see what happens. But we battle.
So you couldn't. It was hard to be friends with like Tyree Harris during high school because the rivalry was so intense that it just didn't
Yeah,
allow
couldn't
that kind of
stand him.
friendship.
Yeah, couldn't stand him. Yeah, because I mean that's what it was. Everything was personal. Like it was either us or you. Like if you weren't in a Hayfield uniform, we didn't mess with you. Same thing with like Justin Moore at TC Williams. Well, Alexandria City now, but that he's one of my good friends now, and that was how it was. Like if you were if you were in those games and you played those games, we couldn't stand each other. We tried to do everything we could to get a win, and we laid it out there every night to play. And I just think now I don't think guys play like that anymore.
I think one of the reasons why it's like that, and you mentioned social media, I think that's right. I think everyone's more connected all the time, and I mean these friends, your friends are athletes 3,000 miles away sometimes. That that didn't happen when we were growing up. But I think because of gun violence and stuff, I think people are conflict scares people. When we were kids, player, the worst thing that can happen is you come to blows. There was very rarely shootings with athletes. I mean, that's just those kind of things didn't happen when we were coming up. It began to happen when you were playing in the 90s and stuff. But I think society, the edge in society is so strong that kids really don't want conflict. And I think it's because of our gun culture. But maybe I'm wrong. You're closer to it.
I mean, I definitely believe that because I don't think kids now can they can compartmentalize, what happens on the court and then afterwards, and then you have everybody's group that wants to think you're the greatest thing, and then if someone doesn't let you score or stop you from scoring and they're talking trash, then it becomes more than just the players on the court. I think when we played, it was just more of us as players. I don't think it was more anybody outside of the court. I think, the rivalry that I had with Tyree or Justin or Sinai over at Annandale, like I think that was just our thing. I don't think outside parties got involved. I think now everybody's connected, like you said, through social media, everybody's a part of it. So it's I'm on team so and so, and if he gets talked bad about, then the whole group, his whole team is mad. So it's like I think that's the difference. There's more outside people involved, whereas I remember Coach Meach was always telling us, these are your friends. Basketball players should be your friends. So I think now a lot of guys, their teammates aren't really their best friends. Like my 3 years of playing high school basketball, they're all my best friends to this day, with one or two inside the building. Where I think now more guys' friends are outside the building or the game of basketball.
It did happen. The game got really intense in the 90s. Again, because I think it's because of the Pistons. The NBA was so physical. The Knicks, the Pacers. I mean, those games were they were bloody. And when I played, there was no 3-point stripe. So there was a premium on big, tall guys. But because the game was compressed. But we didn't have that talk trash type of edge. We really didn't do a lot of that when I played. That kind of came after. That was like,
That was
late
my
80s.
era.
Yeah, that was more your era. We did a little bit of that. But like, when I played against like Tommy Amaker and Frank Smith, and we liked each other. So we're all competitors, but it didn't have that kind of edge quite like that. And again, I think that was the NBA. But anyway, let's go back to where you got started. I know you went to Hayfield. Who were your earliest basketball influences? Who were the first people you tried to model after?
Well, as a kid, everybody wanted to be Michael Jordan. That was always everybody's main guy. And so I just loved the way that he took everything seriously. So when I played, I wanted to always be the best player on the court. When I got to high school, honestly, like I just played. Like I really didn't model after anybody. But then when I got to high school, Ronell Felton became one of my big guys that I used to watch when I was in eighth and ninth grade. While I was in eighth grade, watching him, coming to see some of the games with Kobe Turner and all those guys. They were phenomenal high school players. And then speaking of college, like Ray Allen was one of my biggest college players that I used to model after because he could shoot, I could shoot. His footwork was impeccable. So those are the things that I tried to model myself after. Definitely Ray Allen and just be as calm, as complete as I could as around him felt.
Yeah. Who was the first important coach in your life?
Oh, Tony Harris.
Oh, Tony.
Yeah, Tony Harris.
You
He was my
talk about competitor. You talk about now. Tony Harris was a competitor. He was a competitor.
Yes.
I played against
Man,
Tony.
man, our players versus coaches games used to be some of the classic games. It would be Tony Harris, Barry Smith, Tracy Scruggs,
Yeah.
Nolan. What was Nolan's last name? He used to play at UV, I believe. Oh man, all those games used to be, and they used to be the biggest trash talk games. But Tony was my freshman. But Tony was my freshman coach, and every day was a, it was something. You had to do things correctly. He was big. He's a big. I think that's where I picked up details. Details are important. That was his main thing. That he made us do everything properly, do everything right. And he really pushed me to be better. Especially be a better shooter, because he would have shooting contests after practice, and he would just dog us and make us have to try to beat him. But he was my first. He was the first guy that I tried to be like, yo, he's really good. And
yeah, Tony had a great career at UDC, as you know. He played at graduated from Fairfax as a little league football player. He's one of the best players I've ever seen. If he would have stuck with football, he would have made the NFL as a receiver. He was an unbelievable receiver. I mean, he was unbelievable. He was great in basketball too, but that guy could play some football. And we grew up with, and I was always on a much better team because I played for Braddock Road. And he played for James Lee. So it was kind of a small, him and Bobby Dobson, kind of a small club.
yeah.
But I mean, Tony was special, and he was a competitor. So you played for Tony, then you played varsity as a sophomore.
Yeah, I went from freshman to varsity as a sophomore.
Yeah.
That was a big step up going from freshman team to varsity. Being a varsity starter that summer, we took some lumps that summer playing in the Kinder League and the old Jelliff League up in Georgetown. But I think they helped us. I think that year, we finished 26-3. So yeah, like I said, I think that helped us, starting 2 sophomores and a senior, and that was a good test.
What was it like to play for Mitras in those days?
He's a lot softer now. He's a lot softer. I think back then he was a little bit more intense because he was younger. But same thing. He demanded excellence. He demanded us, especially his guards. He demanded us to play well. He taught us how to handle the ball, how to not turn the ball over. He hates turnovers. And I think he was one of the first guys that definitely was a guy that allowed your talent to shine. Like, he knew I could, like, nobody knows this, but like, our plays were either down 1, down 2, or down 3. Down 1 was we cleared out and let Cornell play. Down 2, they said 3 screens for me to shoot. Down 3, they shot. It was 3 screens for Carlos to shoot. That was basically our offense. So he definitely allowed our talents to show. He didn't really, but again, he pushed us. He pushed us to be better. He's the first coach I ever met that detailed everything as far as missing practice, missing workouts after school, your stat percentage, how many shots you're taking, percentages, plus minuses. Like, every year, at the end of the year, we got a plus minus sheet. So he made us. He forced us to be better every year. And that was one of his mottos, and that's one of my coach philosophies: play every day to win. And he instilled that in us.
Are you surprised he's been able to last so long in coaching? I mean, there's lots of great coaches, and you can coach as long as you want if you're good at it. But he's wanted to do it, and he's been very successful. Has that surprised you?
Not at all. I mean, he loves it. Like, we speak probably weekly through email or call. So like, he loves it. I think he's an old competitor. Everything about him is competing. So since he can't play anymore, I think the challenge of getting guys that aren't probably the best. I remember when I was over Lake Braddock, we took some teams that didn't have the best talent. But again, like I said about Hayfield's team this year, they were player driven. The guys wanted to be good. The guys came in and worked hard, and we had success over those years. And I think that's his challenge. And I think that's what he competes at now, is getting guys to buy in, play well, and compete. And he's been doing it, 40 years now. So, I don't see him slowing down, as long as his love is still in it, which it is. So, he's out there still doing it.
Yeah. Well, your junior year, you have the season we all dream about. I guess it could only have been better if you could have won a state championship. Talk about your junior year and how you guys were able to put it together and win at George Mason. I think you won region, right?
Won at
Beat
George
Yorktown,
Mason, yeah.
and then you went to state. Tell us about that season.
Went to state. That was an incredible season. I think that was it's an emotional season as well because that's when Ronell had got sick. He's one of our coaches that year. So we kind of did everything for him that year as far as listening for the most part, playing our hearts out. We had it was a great run. I totally stunk up. I'll admit that I totally stunk up in the semifinal game against Potomac. But again, we had guys that came out of nowhere that year. We had one of our guys, Theo Lewis. He became our fifth starter. That was the first year we went 4 guards. He was our 4th guard, along with Clayton Lee. He could sharpshooter, come off the bench. He could shoot it. Everybody played their part. Everybody. That was the most selfless team I've ever been on, where everybody just whatever their role was, didn't matter what it was. They put it together and they came out and played. George Mason was that was our goal, was to make it to George Mason. We had won the district the year before, so that summer we did everything we could. I think we played in 4 summer leagues. Always played again. I definitely remember that year. One of our players broke down on the Woodrow Wilson Bridge, and we pulled over and picked him up and took him to the game. He's like, "I'll call my parents, get my car. We gotta go win this championship over at Friendly High School." So he just jumped in somebody's car and was like, "Yeah, my car's on the bridge. I'll call my parents, come get it." And so that type of sacrifice is what we had. That let us know right there. We had some, it seemed like we always lost the game to Robinson. I don't know why. It seemed like they always somehow got us, but we lost.
That's what we do at Robinson, Steve. That's what we do.
Exactly. This came up. We came a little short against them every year. It seemed like they would pull one out. Chris Isaac was a great player over there on our place.
Yeah.
So like I said, we already knew that that was our goal. Our goal was to make it to Mason. Once we got to Mason, I think funny story about that game. We played Lee in the semifinals at George Mason, and I go out with a bad ankle, turn my ankle early in the game. I ended up coming back in towards the 4th quarter, and I think I want to say we were up 2, and we went zone. I never forget, and Val makes a double clutch 3-pointer under 2. He goes under 2 people. Who was a phenomenal player, Val Brown. He shoots a double clutch under 2 people, 3-pointer that goes in, and it's like 6 seconds on the clock. And I take the ball in quick and I throw it to Cornell, and he's just standing there, and I'm yelling like, "Yo, you gotta go, and he's like, relax. And I'm like, and we're literally having a conversation, and again I point to the clock, and it's like 4 seconds now, and he just sprints down the court and makes an unbelievable shot to send us to the actual regional championship game. So that's how we won. So those type of miracles is how that season went. And then Yorktown, we again I foul out the game. We had to finish the game with like 2 minutes left. So we ended up getting that win. Then we just moved on. We beat a great William Fleming team who could shoot the hell out the ball. They were we had to really defend that. Then like I said, then we go down to Liberty. Back when they had all the flames and all that stuff on the court. We go down there and play Potomac. And it was just like we just felt that that was our dream season. Like we had to come out and it hurt. That one hurt the most to lose because we had all been together for so long. We went from guys I played with on freshmen to me and Clayton Lee played AAU that summer together. We spent time together. Then all of us, we just spent so much time together. And then to fall a little short to a great Potomac team, not completing our goal. That year definitely hurt.
What was the drive like to Lynchburg? Because that must have been a really, it's a simple thing, but isn't that fun getting in a bus and going down with your team to Lynchburg?
It was, and that was the best part. All the students outside cheering you on, getting on a charter bus. You don't have to. It's not the orange cheese bus that we was all used to. We had to watch movies. We stopped halfway and went and ate at Applebee's or something. It was our first. It felt like a college experience. For the first time. So, and I think that's what we were wanted to do. We wanted that experience. And that was our. And truthfully, not like now, guys don't. For us, we didn't travel like that. So now I think it's, it's not as important because guys traveling all the time, playing here and there and all that stuff. But for us, that was like a big deal. It felt great.
Well, you said you didn't play well against Potomac, but it had to be a challenge. When you look at Mookie Felder, Sherman, and Cliff Hawkins, that was a great Potomac team.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, great team. Like, they scrappy. They got after us. They pressed us full court. And then again, big game, college court, different environment. Just sometimes shots just don't fall. Especially for me, I remember I made my first jumper, so I thought it was going to be a great game. And then after that, it's just it didn't pan out the way it was. But like I said, we all season we had guys step up, and in that game, Theo Lewis stepped up majorly. He kept us in the game. I think he made 3 or 4 threes to keep us in the game. He was solid. Guys, Clayton was solid on the block. Carlos played a great game. But like I said, it's just, one of those things. Like they just had our number that night. They made a lot more shots than we expected. I think we played zone that game. So I think Cliff Hawkins had like 5 threes in the first half, which we didn't expect, as a freshman.
He's not really an outside shooter.
But hey, that's why he went to Kentucky. That's why you saw it young. He stepped up and he in a big spot and did something unprecedented for us. Like I said, we didn't think they could shoot that well, and they made us pay for it.
Yeah. Well, the next year, you guys were unable to get back to state. It's hard to get to state. That was the year. It was. I think it was TC Williams and West Potomac. Yeah, but you'd beaten both teams during the season. So talk about your senior season.
Senior season, that was the rebuild. It's kind of like how the Golden State Warriors were. I think a couple years ago they had the old guys mixing in a bunch of new guys, younger guys. So coming back that year was me, Carlson Cornell, the old guard with a couple other guys that came off the bench, and then that was when we had a young Mark Stafford, young Joe Harden. Poindexter joined the mix, who's a solid point guard to give Cornell some breaks. Who else we have on that team? Young Jimmy Cunningham. Like I said, we had a lot of we were integrating a lot of younger guys, so it's kind of like the old with the new. And we just kind of, I think the whole year we were just battling, trying to find a groove. Like I said, we'd win a couple in a row, then we'll lose a game. Then we'll win a couple more in a row, then we'll lose a game. I know going into the Christmas tournament, we were struggling. I think we lost the last game. I think it was to Robinson going into Christmas that year. We lost that game going into the Christmas tournament, and we were playing Arundel, who was at the time we thought they were really, really good. Had our number, athletic group, but that was one of our stretches where I think we scored like a record for the Chantilly Christmas tournament, like 104 to like 30, some kind of win. Wow. But like I said, that was our capability. But that whole year we were up and down. But I think it came from, guys trying to find their roles, guys trying to establish themselves. And then you got to think all those guys that played with us that year, they went on 2 years ago, their senior year, and they were in the state championship. You know what I mean? So it was a matter of I believe that we taught them how to win, and they took it. And 2 years later, I think they lost to what was the school down in?
They lost to Granby.
Granby. Granby or whatever. Yeah,
Granby.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So that was just one of those good years, mixing the old with the young, and just we didn't have any consistency that year.
Yeah. Well, you ended up going to Coastal Carolina. Why did you choose Coastal Carolina? A nice place.
I had a it wasn't, mainly now, back then there was the popular, it wasn't, for me, I just felt like it wasn't popular to go to prep school or when you graduated high school, you went to college. You know what I mean? That was just my thinking. So Coastal gave me an opportunity. I knew at the time Gannon Baker was one of the assistant coaches down there. I've known him since I was in 8th grade. Pete Strickland was really good friends with Coach Metris. And then, and it was, for me, it was a thing, they wanted me down there, honestly, Pete tells a story, when we talk, he was I recruited you on a tape where you went, I think it was a regional game against Centerville. I think I went 0 for 10, but he still wanted me because I did a lot of other things, not just shoot the ball, not just, I defended, I rebounded, got steals. So I mean, and for me, that meant something to me, like that you would still consider me on a bad game. You know what I mean? Just because you see something in me, and I think that he really wanted me down there. So, like I said, I went down there. First year was cool. We had 7 seniors. We had 7 junior college players that were all seniors. Pete was trying to find his way. I think I started playing minutes after like the 5th game of the year, just because typical freshman stuff in the doghouse, late for stuff, not understanding the importance of being in college, hanging out a little too much maybe. So, once I realized, it was serious business and I had to get to it. Like, I took over. So I took off. I was freshman rookie of the year down there for the Big South Conference. And then, I was there for 2 years. Second year, we just kind of butted heads. I think it was more, to this day, I think it was more of me having a big head about things. Like I wanted to, to establish that, I was the guy. And I really didn't know how to do that at a college level. We had a couple other guys that were, they were really good players as well. But I thought that my role should have been bigger, since I was, coming off freshman year, getting accolades and things like that. I think I had the big head going back, So I think that's where us butting heads, and and then I ended up transferring to American.
So you're able to make the adjustment to the college level. What is the key for kids to make the adjustment from public school basketball or any basketball to a Division I level? Why were you able to? You were a very thin player. I remember you were small. You had blazing speed, but you were a good athlete and a great shooter. What was the key to being able to adjust so quickly to that level?
It's for me, my motto in life has always been sink or swim. So if you're there, you gotta figure it out. I think for me, it just turned into, I think the main adjustment was I was able to get to spots. I was able to get to a spot and get a shot off. I was able to think the game. I learned how to think the game more than be, like you said, be as athletic as other guys were, or as quick as some other guys was. I was able to think the game. I was able to put guys in position. I was able to use my body to do things to make me effective. I learned that screening was important. Before I used to be the guy that screened, but in college, you got to screen. You got to get your teammates open. You gotta understand what's going on. And I think that's the main thing. Was like, once I had my struggles, and once I got into starting to get minutes, I think learning what it is that the coach is asking me to do, and that was the key thing. I always knew what everybody was doing. So I think the mental part got me over the top. I think now guys rely more on their athletic ability and the way that they play. They think their skills are going to get them over, where for me, and I think most times it's your mental. You got to be able to know what's going on. Like I tell guys now, when you get to college, you got 2 weeks to figure it all out. You got 2 weeks to figure it all out. And mind you, you got guys that's already been there that know what's going on. Especially if you're going to a school that's coach has already been there. So you're kind of behind the 8 ball. So you got to go in and you got to lock in mentally as far as what your position is, what you're asked to do, and what the coach wants you to do. And you got to go do those things. And I think that's what I did once I started playing.
What did you learn? What did you learn from Coach Strickland?
Work hard, intensity. He's an intense guy. Like he's enthusiasm and intensity is his main thing. You know what I mean? You got to come in, you got to bring it every day. I remember we used to go like 3 hours before a game preparation. You know what I mean? Like he's big on preparing. He's big on your energy level and you being all in. Like he's definitely an intense guy, and you had to match that. You know what I mean? He's a fiery guy. You can't. And the main thing is you can't take anything personal. It's like he's gonna say some things, and you're just gonna have to just take them and just know that it's for your good.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story about Strickland. So I'm really good friends with Gerald Purnell, who's Oliver Purnell's brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I told Gerald, there's this kid, Ronell Felton at Hayfield. I don't know if he's the right level for Old Dominion, but this kid can shoot the basketball. So the next day, Pete Strickland came up and to a summer league game, and I was the first time I ever met Coach Strickland. So he went up to Ronell and introduced himself, saying, "Hey, we're here to watch you." right? This is over at the
That
PE
sounds
building.
about right.
Ronell must have went 0 for 23. So I mean, he could do anything. So I remember I talked to Oliver a couple days later. He said, Julian, I thought you said this kid could shoot the ball, and I was like, Oliver, I've never even seen him miss a shot before, and he just had one of those days where nothing went right. But yeah, that's a true story. I haven't really thought about that until we're talking about Ronell and talking about Coach.
Yeah.
So when did you decide to go to American? I mean, that was a great decision because your team struggled at Coastal Carolina, and you went to American, and you guys won the conference.
We won the conference my first year playing. I had to sit out a year that year, but I wanted to go to. I mean, American. Like I wanted to be back home, and at the time they were in the CAA. So my mother's in the military, so she was stationed down in Fort Story down in Virginia Beach. So my thinking was, I want to be back in the area. American plays in the CAA. My mom's down in Virginia Beach. They're gonna play Richmond, Old Dominion. She'll be able to come to some games. Because when I was at Coastal, she was stationed out in St. Louis, so she only came to one game when I was out there. So she came to like the Ohio State game. So my whole thing was to transfer so my mom could come to games. So once I transferred, signed my papers, they were like, "Yeah, this is our last year in the CAA. The year that you sit out, we're moving to the Patriot League." And I'm like, "Where are those games?" And they're like, "All up the East Coast." So, at the time I had a great relationship with Kevin Brodus, who's now the head coach at Morgan State. He had a great, me and him had a great relationship. Another one of the players at American was one of my AAU teammates, Patrick Doctor, great player from Gwynn Park. Great, between Kevin and then just everything I heard from heard about Coach Jones. I just wanted to I knew he was a basketball guy. I knew that he knew the game, coached at UVA. So, I just wanted to be there. And the funny story about him was I remember when I transferred there, I was a walk-on. So I transferred as a walk-on. And I remember the first meeting I had with him. At the time, he was coming from Rhode Island. So he was like, yeah, there's no scholarships available. You can come here if you want to. But if a scholarship comes available, we're probably going to give it to the 6'7" kid that I'm bringing from Rhode Island. And arrogant me at the time, I was like, okay, I'll take the deal. It's cool. So halfway through, so we didn't even make it to Christmas. Some things happened, kids left, whatever. And at the time, every day, every day, one of my teammates on the team was Tommy Hearns' son, Ronald Hearns. So awesome competitor. Me and him used to battle in practice, like go at him. And so I remember one of the practices, he never talked to me. Like it's for like 2 months, he never talked to me. Like not like a long conversation. He never really talked to me. So he calls me upstairs one day. And he goes, "Why didn't you transfer in December?" And I was like, "Coach, I didn't know anything about transferring. I just knew I just didn't want to be down." And he's like, "Damn, I could really use you this year." He was like, "Now I gotta wait till next year. By the way, we're giving you a scholarship." So I was like, "Oh, wow." So again, I tell guys all the time, work hard in practice, good things happen for you. So that's all. Like practices were my games that year sitting out. So I used them well. And like I said, my parents only had to pay for a semester of college for me as a walk-on before I was back on scholarship. And then, like I said, the first year I was able to play, we kind of ran through the Patriot League. We should have won the championship that year. We should have won the championship both years. We had better talent, but those Holy Crosses teams are just so well. They were so disciplined, so well played. I think my junior year, I think they had 4 turnovers, missed 2 free throws the whole game. Like they just played the perfect game both seasons.
Yeah. What did you learn from Jeff Jones?
Him and Peter kind of the same. Like you gotta bring it every day. But the main thing I learned from him is his main thing is you must respect the game. Everything, when you come out there, you must play correctly. You must give it your all. If not, don't mess with it. Go do something else. And that was his main thing, was like, you got to respect the game. You got to play the game the right way. And again, he was the first coach that gave us all freedom, to do what it is that we do within our offense. And he let us play the right way. He knows what he's doing. He's good. His workouts used to be top notch. He knew how to get you better. And and again, it's the main thing for him was respect the game.
Yeah. Well, your senior year, you were all league. I think you averaged 16 a game or more. What was the
Yeah.
difference in Steve Miles as a senior than you as a freshman? I mean, obviously you had all that
Um,
experience. But what was that big difference? All of a sudden you're all league.
I went to that summer. I went to a Kevin Eastman work camp down in Randolph Macon,
Mhm.
and the things he taught us just the subtle things about how to create space, how to use your legs to get shots off, how to just it was like a 2 day just 8 hour workout. Like that's all it was him just teaching you. And so I literally went down there that summer and just the game just became easier for me. Like I knew how to use screens better. I knew how to land. That was the main thing, landing 1-2, using your pivots. He taught us how to pivot. I just took those things from that camp and I think I went from like a total like overall like 11 points a game I saw junior year to 16 overall, but in conference I think I averaged like 25 points a game.
Wow.
Just just like I said, he just taught us how to read screens better, how to just you see the game better. And I give him all the credit. Like that those 2 days was probably as a player the most I've learned in one setting that you can use. You know what I mean? You go places, you learn a lot of stuff. But everything he taught us about, like I said, pivoting, creating space, landing on two, playing off 2 feet, using your pump fakes, all those things just elevated my game so much more. And then in conference, like I said, I just took off in conference. I should have been player of the year that year, but
Did you
basically
still
got crazy.
did you steal the tail when you were an American?
No, no, no. Pete Strickland had me cut that off like the first week. The first week I got down there, he was like, "Yeah, that ain't gonna work for me. That's not gonna work. We gotta get a new haircut."
That was your
So
that was your
yeah,
trademark. That was your trademark, man.
that's my trademark. I mean, like, I think that put the onus on my back that I had to play good. Like you can't go to TC Williams with a rat tail and lay an egg on a Friday night. They're not gonna let you live that down.
No. So we'll talk about your post-American journey. Did you try to play overseas or a pro ball and tell us about your coaching journey?
I tried to play ball for a couple years. I went and played in Ireland for a year. Really didn't like it. Um, it wasn't like a pro experience for me. Then I came home and then I started coaching a little bit with Coach Mitras. Just helping out here or there. I remember when David Abella, he got the job at Hayfield. That was my first real year of coaching. I went over there with him and coached his JV team. We had some really good players that went on to be really good. Brandon Winbush and all those guys were all freshmen when I had them as JV players. And then like when he stepped down at Hayfield, I went back to Lake Braddock, and I mean that was like being in like a coaching boot camp. Learning so much. Like I said, Coach McCool, Coach Warren, Coach Warden, all the old head OGs was out there, teaching, and Mitras, every day bringing it. So like I spent 10 years there at Lake Braddock. We won I think 3 districts. We won a region. We went to the state tournament twice. We had some really good players that came through there that we had from 8th grade to there. But I think those 10 years taught me so much about the game of basketball. Taught me about coaching. Taught me about being prepared. Taught me about like being prepared for everything. I think now whatever staff I'm on, I'm always the guy that's prepared for everything. Like I have come in with notebooks and taking stats and making sure like, hey guys, we shot this from this percentage. Just always being prepared, always having. That's the one thing I learned from Coach Mitchell in coaching is you can't have a set mindset on what you're going to do. Things change, you got to change. Your roster change, you got to put your team in the best position. Because like if you notice, like he doesn't really play the same way every year.
No.
Like I think the last couple of years he was doing the fun and gun thing, and I think then he went to Princeton when I was there, so I learned the Princeton offense. I learned how to learn the the UCLA offense. I learned I just learned so much, and then I think those are qualities that I take everywhere that I go, and I think that's what makes me an asset when I go places because I can kind of help us get out of jams and do things based off of the stuff I learned from Mitras and McCool.
Or being a good assistant coach and being a good head coach, is it the same skill set or is it different skills?
I think the head coach, you make the decision. I think as assistant coach, I make a suggestion. So I think, even though the suggestion may be good to me as an assistant coach, if the head coach don't take it, he's the guy. He's that first chair is amazing. You're making all the decisions. When I was a head coach at Osborne Park, it's a lot different. You gotta make decisions on staff, decisions on in game what you're gonna do. Even if the assistants give you a good suggestion, it's up to you to use it. So I think that as an assistant, the main thing is supporting your head coach, making sure that he has what's going on. He has the feel of the bench, because when you're standing up, you're not right there with the players. Your assistant coaches are, so they're the ones that give you the feel of the bench, the feel of the atmosphere of what's going on. So you kind of forget that as the head coach. But like I said, I think the difference is one makes a decision, one makes a suggestion, and you're not judged for it.
Do you want to be a head coach again?
Yes. I plan to be a head coach at some point here soon. Right now, I think being an assistant coach is good for me with my work schedule and things like that. And then, like I said, it's learning. Like I went. My mindset is totally different from when I was at Lake Braddock to now when being at I keep wanting to say Wilson, but being at Jackson Reed, it's a different focus. One went from it's kind of going from high school to college and coaching. You know what I mean? I think now the thing is, to be on a national scale. And I think, that's what we're striving for at National Christian. We're playing a lot of big time, opponents. And I think that's the difference between that and playing in coaching in public school. I think public school is just winning the state championship, where I think now my goal as a coach and being around the people that I'm around now is to be nationally ranked, to play the big time schedule, to play your Duncanvilles and Sierra Canyons and those guys, and to actually see what your team is actually really made of.
Last question, Steve, and this has been great. Are we giving coaches enough support now? Are they giving enough respect? Is the life of a coach, is it a good life? Or are they getting what they deserve?
I think coaches are getting what they deserve. I think for the most part, coaches are getting the respect that they want from the kids. I think that's what really matters. I think outside forces, the parents and handlers and trainers and all those things, I don't think those really matter. But I think the kids that really buy into their coach, they have success. For example, Sherman down at Patriot, his guys, they all buy in. The kids love him. I don't know about the parents down there, but I know the kids love him, so they perform for him. At Hayfield, the kids love him. You know what I mean? He's able to push them in the right way, do the things he's supposed to do. So I think that the teams that have success, I think their players are buying in, and the players are giving the coaches what it is that they're doing it for. The teams that aren't really winning, I don't think a lot of success. They're probably not known for winning anyway, so they're just an activity. But but I think the guys who are on a competitive level doing what they're supposed to do, I think they're getting what it is that they're trying to get.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, Steve, this has been awesome. I can always tell from social media you're a deep thinker about the game. You care a lot about the game, and you got some great views. I admired you from afar. You're a great player. I couldn't shoot the ball, so anyone who could score like you did, I always had a lot of respect for guys like you. But yeah, I used to love watching you do it. But this has been great. Occasionally I have panels of different viewpoints. I love to get you on one of those so you can argue with people, because I know you like to mix it up. But thanks a lot. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. I'm saying, of course, you always got to have a different viewpoint or something, and I like to battle a little bit.
Yeah. Well, this has been great. I really enjoyed listening to your views, and hopefully I can meet you out in the game, one of these games at some point.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, Steve, it's been great, man.